Welcome back. I don't feel like I did a super great job on the last episode. I'm kind of afraid to share it. The good thing about not having any people watching is I could just try again if I wanted to and just not share that first video. I don't think I'll do that, but I could if I wanted to. And just keep trying until I got it right. I have to find the Metal Mario thing. I don't really remember where it is. I rented a new game and I played it yesterday. I only played it for like 2 hours, but I really like it. It's called Hellblade. It's a pretty old game for PlayStation 4. But I think it's really cool so far. Here it is, it's in here, right? And I just finished Assassin's Creed, playing that for like 70 hours, and I wanted to talk about why I didn't really like it that much. I don't really like open world games, and it's kind of a bummer because that's like, those are all the AAA games are open world. It makes sense because those are the games that like take up a lot of time. So like it took me 70 hours to finish it, and I didn't even want 100% it. So it's like, okay, if I'm gonna play it for 80 hours or whatever, it's worth $60. So those games get the most money, and those are the AAA games. But a game like Hellblade isn't gonna, I would never spend $60 on it because it's only like a 10-hour game. So I just rented it. I would never buy it, and I'm gonna die. Ugh, that's tough. You die pretty quick in there. The problem for me in the open world games, and I probably mentioned this a bunch of times, but it's hard for me to really keep track of the story when like you're constantly doing side missions that don't really affect the main story or the main character or any of the side characters, and they can't really affect those things because then the main story wouldn't make sense if you didn't do those things. So the main story has to take into account like it has to make sense if you decide not to do any of the side missions. So the side missions can't affect your character or any of the story, or so it's like, what's even the point of doing it? The point is world building. Right? And the reason why I did enjoy Assassin's Creed is because a little bit is because I just went the wrong way. It is cool to like just wander around in ancient Greece and like visit Sparta and the Colosseum or whatever. And to see that in like HD or and to like walk around in it, and that's really cool. And I don't know why I haven't really heard this like criticism from other people. Like other people seem to really like open world games like Red Dead Redemption and Assassin's Creed. And people really complain about linear stories, but if the alternative is like this open world thing, I would rather have a linear story. People are all, like constantly complaining about, and we're dead. Linear stuff, and like I want to like explore, like I want to be like riding a horse, and then some guy comes up to me and he's like, hey, what are you doing? Like, can you do this thing for me? And I'm like, I don't want that. And like the same thing in real life. If I'm like doing something, like I don't want somebody to come up to me and be like, hey, you want to help me with this thing that's boring and doesn't affect anything? I'm like, no, not really. But other people seem to want that. How could I have gotten lost already? Let's just wander around and see if we can. Oh, it's in here somewhere. So I really prefer games like Hellblade that are like, maybe it's a problem just like with me being kind of not very smart, and like I just can't keep track of all the information, all the side missions. Like I got to the end of the story and I was like, who are these people again? And like, why do I care about Demos or whatever his name is? I just got like, I always try to like get into the side quests and be like, and to like listen and pay attention, and like I was like, oh cool, this is Socrates, like what are his missions gonna be like about like the nature of humans and stuff, and they kind of were, but after a while I just got like, it didn't really affect the character and it was just kind of boring. And so after a while, I still wanted to complete like all the side missions, but I didn't really care. This always happens to me. It's like I just end up skipping all the dialogue just so that I can just complete the mission. That happened with like all the open world and RPGs. Like even when I played Persona 5, I just ended up skipping all the dialogue, and then you get to a point where you're actually skipping the main quest dialogue, and then you're not as invested in the main quest, and then it's like, why are you even playing if you don't care about any of the characters or the main story? And you just get bored. I don't know if there's a solution to this problem that I have, even if there should be, because it seems like most people don't really care. But like, nobody remembers the Assassin's Creed games. The games that get all the praise are like The Last of Us and like the narrative games that are like focused and they have a single story and like they don't have a bunch of side missions. Those are the ones that are like impactful and memorable. Like I don't remember anything about Assassin's Creed. I remember having fun, like walking around in Greece, and the controls were good. But other than that, I don't remember anything about the story. And I just played it last week. But like, I've only played BioShock like a couple times, and it's one of my favorite games. I played like maybe 2 or 3 times, but I remember a lot about that story and all the, like the twists and everything, and all the characters and like their arcs are cool and interesting. Like all the villains that they introduce. And other people seem to really like that game too, and it's like really memorable. And it's because it's like focused, I think. I guess the exception to this rule would be Elder Scrolls. People seem to really like that game a lot, and it's really memorable to them. It wasn't really for me, for those same reasons. I don't really remember anything about it. The story. I do remember enjoying it, but I don't remember anything about it. So, I think I'm gonna... They're just like time wasters for me. Like, I have OCD about like completing all the side missions and getting all the synchronized points, and so I just end up wasting so much time doing all that stuff. This is not right. I thought you got the metalhead thing in here, but maybe not. But I'm really looking forward to playing this Hellblade game. It's really cool. I'm not really that interested in like Norse mythology or anything, but like just the way they set up the character and like the story, and like how the game design is like really good too. I'm not like a super genius with game design, but I can tell like when something's really good and done really well, and that game is like so far really cool with how like they don't directly tell you anything. They do it all through the narrative of like the story, and like the main character has this kind of like psychosis, I guess, or like multiple... She's like schizophrenic, or she has voices in her head, and the voices kind of like tell you what to do in the game. Which I really... It's a cool way to do. There's one point where like you have to do this puzzle where you walk to like this pyre and you look at this symbol, and then once you do, you have to run back to this other place, and everything is kind of like burning, so you kind of have to you have to remember like where you came from, so otherwise you'll die in the fire and like you'll suffocate or something. And the characters in your head before you go to the pyre, they're like, oh, I hope she knows what she's doing. Like, she'll never make it back in time. She's gonna die here. She's gonna suffocate. She's gonna burn. She'll never make it back. And that tells the player like, oh, I can die here. Like, I should really pay attention to the puzzle. Otherwise, I'll die. Otherwise, you might just jump into that puzzle right away and not even think twice about it. And then you'll die, and then you'll be like, oh, this game's stupid. I didn't know I was going to die here. And they punish you for deaths. Like, you only have a certain number of deaths, otherwise you have to replay the whole game. Which I was kind of scared of at first. But after I played the game for 2 hours... it seems like it really feels like any death you make is your fault. Like, you have to pay attention. And the combat's really fun. So far it's kind of simple, but it's still really fun. I don't know if they'll add any like new mechanics. They added one cool thing, which is like, okay, they introduce where'd the dinosaur go? Oh. They introduce these enemies that you have to fight, and they're like, okay, this is an enemy you have to fight, and then once you kill him, it's like, okay, you really, this text comes up that's like, every time you die, the death will creep in closer, and if you die a certain amount of times, then you have to start everything all over from the beginning. And so you kill the first guy, and he's kind of easy. I don't know if you can lose in that battle, or maybe you automatically lose every time. So it teaches you how to fight. You just kind of press buttons and figure it out. Here we go. And then they're like, and then the next time you fight the guys, it's like, okay, now there's two guys, so it's a little bit more complex. Someone can like sneak up behind you. You gotta kind of dodge more, and you have to. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. That's bad. Oh, no! I don't want to do that. Okay, please help me. Help me. Oh. I forgot that could happen. Right. So they teach you that, and then they do another cool thing, which is, so you do, okay, so you've learned how to fight, kind of. And now the next thing they do is like that fire puzzle, where like you go to a pyre and you look at the fire, and then you have to remember how to get back before you die. And so you do like 1 or 2 puzzles like that. And then the next thing they do is they make the puzzles a little bit more complicated, and you're like, oh, am I gonna make it? And then they throw an enemy at you at the end of the fire, and then you're like, oh crap, I don't have time. So you're fighting like kind of frantically. You're like, I have to kill this guy fast, otherwise I'll die from suffocating, but like I don't want to fight him too fast, because otherwise I have to like focus, because otherwise if I lose focus, then he'll kill me. And it's really fun. I know it's kind of, I don't know, when I explain it, it sounds kind of simple, but I think that's why it's so well received, and that's why I liked it a lot so far. It's only been 2 hours, so like if they just kind of repeat the same things, I'll get bored of it. But if they keep like introducing cool stuff like that, and like they keep the story interesting, and it doesn't kind of just like devolve into like total nonsense that doesn't make any sense, then like it could be one of my favorite games. I really like it a lot so far. So I just talked for like 10 minutes about that game, and I've only played it for 2 hours, and I can't tell you anything about Assassin's Creed that I played for 70 hours, so that's why I think I'm done with open world games. I might still play RPGs. I don't know if I can stay away from RPGs. But like, okay, this is the last thing I'll say about Assassin's Creed. It's not a good thing. I didn't like the leveling system. They didn't know how, or they couldn't figure out how to... Those rocks are following me. So what they did was, I think the problem was they kind of opened up the entire world to you, like right at the beginning, so you can kind of do any side mission you want right away. Instead of most open world games where it's like, okay, you've progressed this far, now you get this section of the world to explore. And that's kind of the way you should do it. Because otherwise you get this Assassin's Creed problem, which is it wasn't satisfying to get to like level up or to get any of the equipment, because all the level requirements for missions kept increasing when you leveled up, so it didn't really matter. Like if you leveled up to level 25, then all your missions would level up to level 25. So it's kind of like, why even level up? It didn't feel good. And then the other thing was like, you're constantly getting new gear and new weapons and stuff. So I think a good RPG would be, a fun part of that game would be like getting new gear and be like, oh, I'm so much stronger now. Like that's what you want the player to feel. But if you're just constantly giving them new stuff, it was kind of like a hassle to me to like go into my inventory and like, okay, what did I get new stuff now? Like, of course I did. Like, okay, it's gonna increase my armor by like 20 points. Do I really care? Let's get to the switch. Come on, we've got it. Uh-oh, please help me. Okay. I'm doing what I said I didn't want to do, which was talk longer than 20 minutes. I really need to just have like a cutoff, like, okay, 20 minutes. You can't go longer than 20 minutes, and then if you're not done with a topic, then just continue it next time. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'll see you tomorrow. And I got the middle thing. Nice. Okay. See you tomorrow.